Corrupting fever and die.
Reap, spin, and I reap, reap, spin with blood. Reap, spin, and I reap, spin with blood.
Corrupting fever war cry. Is it on? Recording. Yes, we're good. Okay, hi, I'm Land of Pandas, and this is another build guide. This was my league starter for Ultimatum. So, before I get into it, I just want to let you know that every build that I come out with, including this one, is just a baseline / guideline for you to start with, and then take and put your own ideas into it. Make it better, make it way better, because my builds aren't going to come out perfect. They're just going to be base guidelines for you to follow. If you want to follow them exactly, you can. But you know, there's so many places that this could go from here. So add your own ideas, add your own play styles, and let's just make some awesome builds together as a community. All right, so we've got Cyclone, cast when channeling, and we are casting Reap and Exsanguinate at the same time with the support gems Efficacy and Brutality. That is our 6-link setup. And you might be wondering, why don't we scale just one of these with a third support gem? And it's actually more damage to have both and be stacking both physical damage over time effects at the same time. At least that's what I found. If you can find a way to scale only one of them with a third support gem and do more damage, go ahead. But I liked also using both skills because they're both cool. I also have Blade Flurry as like a question mark, because it might actually be better to use Blade Flurry for some bosses. While you're cycloning and casting, you actually, whenever you're aiming, you have to be going in that direction. You can't just like cyclone right here and aim over here. You just freaking start flying this way. So for some bosses where you don't want to be sitting on top of them, like there's a Degen on the floor or whatever, Blade Flurry is going to end up being a little bit better, because you can stand, you know, in an ideal spot and then cast from there. And the channeling, like the cast speed, will trigger the exact same amount. But yeah, so for some bosses it might be better. Cyclone is going to be 10 times better for mapping though, every single time. Because you're attacking faster, you're getting life gain on hit, and you're going to get the bleed explosions a lot easier that way. Okay, we are also running Corrupting Fever with Efficacy, Brutality, and Swift Affliction. This is like a third of our damage. Incredibly important setup, and we self-cast it. It's not really inconvenient. It's totally fine. It does loads of damage because we stack it really fast with high attack speed from Cyclone. And with that, we have auras, Pride, War Banner, and Herald of Purity. Malevolence is another good one, but it doesn't do as much damage as these three in combination with each other. So, I'll talk a little bit later at a section at the end of the video on improvements for this build, where I'll bring that up again, but for now, we're not running it at all. I also have got Clarity, and that's because I don't have access to the crafting channeling skills have less mana cost. You know, it's really early in the league, like 5 days in, so haven't picked that up yet. So we're just running Clarity. It's fine. Cast when damage taken gives us Tempest Shield, Molten Shell. Tempest Shield gives us block chance, which is good because we're a Gladiator. We get max block, and that helps us get that. So it's very, very convenient, and it recasts for us. We have in our boots Enduring Cry, which is really nice because you're taking away life by casting Corrupting Fever. This can help you get it right back. Also gives us endurance charges. And we've got Dash, Second Wind, and Arcane Surge. So every single time we dash, we get Arcane Surge because it's a level 1 Arcane Surge. So we can dash and spin, and we get that 10% spell damage. So, there's no reason not to have it. It's free damage. It's literally free damage every time we dash. Dash is a spell, so it works with it. We take those. We're also running Vulnerability as the curse. I mean, ideally, we get it on hit on a ring, but once again, early in the league, I haven't picked that up yet. I didn't want to spend the currency on it quite yet, to be completely honest. But that's, of course, an upgrade later. And Fortify is really, really tricky to get on this build because you don't want it in your Cyclone setup. You're going to lose way too much damage by doing that. So then the question is, how do you get creative enough to put Fortify in this build? Well, I'm using Charged Dash. I know, it's really whack. I've tried Whirling Blades, I've tried Shield Charge, I've tried Flicker Strike. None of them felt quite as good as Blade Flurry. Not Blade Flurry, what the frick? Charge Dash. I could just tap it, and anything that I touch gives me Fortify. So you get Fortify really, really fast with this. Not only that, but if you send your Ghost forward, anything along this line that gets hit will also give you Fortify. So it's actually not that bad. Try it out, see what you think. It's really awkward to just get Fortify in this build at all, so I felt this was the least awkward way to get it. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm definitely crazy, but that's just where we're at. So that's our gem links. I'll just go right into our items. So, we are a Gladiator, and we're a Spellcaster. How many times have you seen a Spellcaster use a Claw? Probably never, because I'm crazy. We're using a Spell Claw. Now, they normally do not roll increased spell damage, but you can use a Essence of Woe to force spell damage onto the weapon. So we force a spell damage roll, and we hope to get attack speed, and then we craft physical damage over time multi on it from our crafting bench. And then we're done. So it's actually really, really easy to make this Spell Claw, and it's going to probably be best in slot. Of course, you'd want higher attack speed than this, or whatever else you really want, but, I mean, this is good enough. We want it because while we're cycloning, we get life gain on hit, and it makes us incredibly tanky. That's a lot of survivability when we're spinning inside Ultimatums. For our shield, we're using an Elder Shield with the mod Increased Damage per 1% chance to block attack damage. Pretty important mod. Not the only option. You can also use Armor Energy shields that give you spell damage, and whatnot. But in general, I think that the best thing you could possibly do is have at least 1,000 armor on a shield. In our tree, we increase the defenses of shields by an incredible amount, and so this is giving us loads of physical damage reduction. It's pretty worthwhile. Another option, though, if you are going the route with like a champion shield, I'll talk about that later. Okay, so this is what I'm using as my shield. High armor, high life, and increased damage per chance to block. For an amulet, you probably want spell damage. You can add increased global physical damage, but all that really matters is that you're getting arcane swiftness. It's not the cheapest anoint, but it is the best anoint we can definitely get. Increased spell damage per chance to block, and we get additional block chance, and we avoid chance to avoid stuns and elemental ailments. Like, this is the best node we can get on our amulet for sure. Unless I'm wrong, in which case it's not, but that's what I think it is. We got this new glove base. Look at these. They've got armor, so we already want to use them, and the implicit is damage over time. It's like they knew I would want to play this build. In any case, you can also craft whatever else on it. I have increased damage during any flask effect. I'll explain how to upgrade these gloves again later, but this is what I've chosen so far, and every other slot is just, life resists. Y'all know the drill. Nothing else really too important. But I just want to quickly give a little bit of a tip for League starters. You can buy 6 links with any mod on them, uncorrupted. Just scour them and throw on an essence of life. And that's already good enough to be your League starter chest piece to get to endgame. Like, I got this really, like, pretty dang early, and then just slapped essences on it until I got something decent. I think it was my first essence, to be honest. Yeah, it was literally my first essence. And then you craft, like, max life on it, and that's good enough. So, definitely use your essences as League starters, because you can just craft the majority of your own gear with just getting item bases. All right, so that is our skill gems. That is our items. Let's quickly look at the tree and the decisions I've made. So for Ascendancy, I'm grabbing Versatile Combatant. This is important because it gives us spell block chance. Block chance is great, but spell block is what makes Gladiator tanky. I considered dropping spell block to go over here and get way more damage, but I don't know how it would feel, to be honest. If you want to give that a shot, you can definitely try it, because the amount of damage increase might be enough to make it worthwhile, but you're losing a lot of spell block, as in, like, almost all of it. So really consider a way, if you're able to get spell block in a really creative way, then this is definitely going to be a much higher damage increase. But of course, we're taking this for bleed explosions. It's perfect for ultimatum. We're in these really small areas, and these monsters have really high health. You also one-shot every harvest, by the way. Literally every monster dies at the same time. It's very satisfying. So bleed explosions gives us more physical damage over time. This node is like a must grab. If you really wanted, you could drop this to get these, and you'll lose a little bit of damage for the tankiness of extra max block, but the bleed explosions are really hard to pass up, so that's my recommendation. For our tree, we grab Command of Steel for increased damage per chance to block attack damage. We need that. That's perfect for us because it's just general damage. And the majority of these nodes over here do not give us any damage stats, really. They just give us tank stats. So increased defenses from shield, chance to block, increased defenses from shield, chance to block, and recovery life when you block, and defenses from shield. So this is how we're making that 1,000 armor shield actually give us like 15,000 armor. That's maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but not really. It gives us like a bajillion armor. And that's all our physical damage reduction. So I definitely think it's worth taking these nodes. If you can get creative and think of a better way to spend these points, go for it. But that's how I've built it so far. We go this way. You definitely want Call to Arms for Enduring Cry, because we don't want to stop cycloning ever. And we make our way up. While you're leveling, you can take Vitality Extraction. In the case that potentially you don't want to cast one channel it yet, or you don't have the links, you can just cast Exsanguinate and Reap by yourself. And if that's the case, take this node, because that'll keep you alive. And we come up here. So, we are a gladiator, but we want to cast spells. We have to use clusters. There's no real way around it. It's just like the best option for sure is to grab clusters. One, we need the extra block chance we can get from the small clusters. And two, eventually, there's not that many damage nodes we can take. There are some, but not enough to warrant not taking a cluster, like all of the time. So we have a physical damage cluster. This one just has 2 nodes. Of course, you would want 3, but early league, you take what you can get. In fact, for your medium clusters, so we're going with damage over time multi or physical damage over time multi, both do the same. For the longest time until like yesterday, meaning like 4 days, I was only running a cluster jewel with just 1 node, and I just took that side and ignored the other node. It's really hard to get nodes or get these with 2 right now. They're really expensive. So if you can only afford to get 1, or in this case, get 2 or 1 in the large cluster, definitely do that. It's still worthwhile, and it's just somewhere to put your points. The important place to get to is these block nodes. That gives you 1 with the shield. This is like definitely one of our highest survivability points. More defenses from shield, so more physical damage reduction. 5% chance to block attack damage, and we're using both. So this gives us 10%. We can't really live without this. Not only that, but every time we block, we now get an additional 100 life. So, before you have access to these damage nodes or these damage nodes, grab both of these. You can have these little ones sticking out of the large cluster if you want as well to start. Other than that, we've got these brand new nodes here that give us physical damage over time multi and crush. And we've got these physical nodes over here as well. We don't really have to take these left ones. They're not as important. I'll have a path of building that has all of this information, of course, but this is my finalized tree. And we have pretty decent amount of life. We've got 6k life. And that's pretty decent, you know? I've got relatively budget gear because I'm not spending too much money on myself. And this is within 5 days of the league start. So all in all, I think I did a pretty good job. As far as I know, there's only one thing left to talk about, and that is what are the potential upgrades for this build. So, I talked about it briefly, but the potential upgrade is using Malevolence, but the way to do that would be using a helmet enchant that reduces the amount reserved, for one. Potentially using Enlighten to help that as well. And then on top of that, having a helmet that has reduced mana reserved. If all those things are happening at the same time, you can definitely find a way to fit in Malevolence, possibly by taking out Herald of Purity. But then you'd get Pride, Malevolence, and Warbanner. Or maybe you could even fit Pride, Herald of Purity, and Malevolence. And that would definitely be a damage upgrade. If we can have 3 auras, including Pride and Malevolence, then it'll be worth the upgrade. Another thing we can upgrade is our gloves. There are, I believe, on Hunter. I think you can also get it on Elder, but I'm not entirely sure. You can always check it up online. There is a mod for physical damage over time multi, just like built into them. So getting damage over time multi on your gloves would be completely ideal for this build, 100%. That would definitely be an upgrade. Other than that, though, we've got like a vulnerability ring and not too much else, like awakened gems and whatnot. But all in all, like this build is able to run, tier 16s quite comfortably without dying. Ultimatums are most of the time pretty much a joke. We just spin through everything in phase tank. Like I lost an ultimatum yesterday because of Ruin. I wasn't paying attention and we lost to Ruin. So other than that, I mean, this build works really, really fantastically. And I know for sure I've missed some things, but if that is the case, please come to my stream and talk to me and ask questions about the build. I will 100% have you. Even though I'll be working on some other builds, I'll answer any questions if you come to my stream. But I think that's pretty much it. And so I'm going to end the video in an awkward way.
Here's some bamboo, you're one of us. There's so much to do in the land of pandas.